Hi, everyone. Welcome to A New View. I'm Shira, and I'm here with Kim, Juji, and Lee. We are four friends, speakers, and professionals from different cultures, backgrounds, and age groups coming together to offer healing and inspiration. You know, each of us has a unique way of expressing love. And according to Gary Chapman's book, The Five Love Languages, we tend to give love in a different way than our significant other. That means that we're speaking Greek and they're speaking Chinese. And that's when a relationship can suffer. So today we're going to delve into this book, a book that has changed countless people's lives across the globe. Kim, can you share your screen real quick?
Absolutely.
So here are the five love languages: words of affirmation, gifts, acts of service, quality time, and physical touch. Words of affirmation can be compliments or saying I love you. Gifts can be a rose or a diamond ring. Acts of service can be mowing the lawn, keeping the kids quiet, balancing the checkbook, doing the laundry, all of those things. Quality time is putting your phone down and spending just time with that one person. And physical touch does not have to be sex. It can be stroking the hair, holding the hand. So girls, who wants to share their language of love?
I'll start. I'm cracking up that you said diamond ring and I saw Juji get all flustered over there. Well, it's interesting because Shira, you introduced me to this. I've actually known about this for a long time, but I didn't read the book, and I don't think I ever really knew what my love languages were. But I'd say I'm actually three. I'm definitely words of affirmation, quality time, and physical touch. But the other two, I'm all of them really. But I'd say definitely, I like to hear I love you. I like to hear I appreciate you. It goes such a long way when you give me a compliment or you tell me I'm beautiful or whatever it is that my husband says. He doesn't realize how powerful his words are. And now, knowing this about myself, I am certainly going to remind him. And physical touch for sure. I'm a hand holder. I know people who are so opposite me with like no PDA. I am PDA. Not that I'll make out on the street in front of everyone, but I like for you to hold my hand all the time and rub my back and like that sort of thing for sure. Kisses randomly, spontaneously, and physical touch. Quality time. Quality time is everything to me, and not just with my husband, but with my friends, with my family. Quality time just it just impacts me so deeply. I just am in love with spending quality time with someone when I'm present. They're present. We have quality conversation because that's not always the case. So anyway, I am definitely all of these, but those top three stand out to me. How about you guys?
Lee?
I'll go next. Yeah, I also am all of them, and I think most of us are. But my top two, I would say, are physical touch. That's my number one, and quality time. And for me, physical touch also actually kind of integrates for me with quality time, because if you are holding hands with your partner, or they are putting their hand on your shoulder and you're doing the same or whatnot, to me that's quality. But I love physical touch. I've always loved it ever since I was a little girl. If you would be playing with my hair, I'm like, I fall in love with you, and I could just sit there forever. Just touch me, just hold my hair, just play with it. So that's always been a big thing. And then quality time also. I feel that undistracted, quality time is so important, in a relationship. That's probably the thing that was missing the most from my marriage, which I've been out of now for years. But physical touch was there when we had our good years, but quality time was not. And I also discovered the five love languages, when I was in my marriage. Somebody gave me the book, somebody recommended I read it, and I did, and I shared it with my then husband, and we discovered what our love languages were. And it was amazing because his love languages were not the same as mine. And that's okay. And of course, we're not all the same, but I came to the realization that, hey, this is what I need to give for him to feel fulfilled. And I also needed to relay the information of my love languages so he knows what it is that I'm seeking and what fulfills me and satisfies me.
Well, I have to say that as probably someone who read the book like way many, many years ago, and also tried to implement it into my own marriage, it made a little bit of a difference, but not significant enough because clearly I'm not married anymore. But anyway,
In here, right.
Here
It just
I am.
didn't work.
It actually made a big difference. That's right. That's
Well,
why.
that's true. That's true. Because when you realize that, I found it fascinating and still find it fascinating that we tend to be with people who speak a different language than we do because it challenges you to hone your skills, right? You have to learn a completely different language. That is not a natural thing to do. It's very difficult. And so that really shows how much you care about the person. If you have the realization that like, oh, because in my marriage, I'd be like hugging and I really wouldn't get anything back. Like that's the part that's so clear to me. It's like you keep speaking your language thinking like, aren't you gonna reciprocate? And so when I would have conversations with my ex about this, he would say, yeah, but I make you this beautiful meal. And so I started to interpret it like, oh, okay, that's his way of showing me he loves me. Like, okay, now I'm going to feel loved, but I don't because that's not my primary language. Like, you can make me meals all day long. It's fabulous. It tastes great, but it doesn't make me feel loved. So unless you are willing to start talking to the other person in their language, and the important thing to note here is that you're not going to speak it fluently right away. You're gonna have, it's just gonna be awkward. But when you start to see the other person's reaction, like for example, if your love language is touch, holding hands, stroking the hair, head on the shoulder, if you start to do those things and you see the other person going, oh, that feels so good, then you're going to want to do it more and get better at it. And it's just such a beautiful thing when it works.
Yeah. And I think really identifying what it is that they need. Sometimes we need to practice and learn another language a little bit better, but sometimes we have it, like with my ex, where it was, I think acts of service was one of them. And that I already had, I would
Right.
make the dinner, I would do this, I would prep, I would nurture, I would be there. But words of affirmation, maybe not so much. Maybe, somebody needs a little bit more. So I think some of them we really, they may not be our top love languages, but we may know how to provide them very well for someone.
And they don't take a long time. That's the other thing. This isn't like, intensive. It's like you can just say, I love you to somebody or hold their hand. That's the part that always frustrated me. It's like, it doesn't take much. Just do it.
People, yeah, but it's not easy. Like I know people, it's not easy for them to say, I love you.
I get
Right,
it.
right.
So say you look pretty today or what, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I love you could be like, oh, that's like a big thing, but you can find other words.
Yeah.
I know, but you're looking at it from the perspective of it's not that hard, but for some people it's hard.
I know. And I just said it's hard to learn another language. So like start off slow, learn how to conjugate the verb to be, you don't have to speak the whole damn language.
And try to identify what your significant other likes way early on in the relationship if you know about this. That's the other thing, because if they're not giving you what you need and they don't know how, you can either discuss it and work on it or move on.
It's true.
I just wanted to add that I think that sometimes your love language, the way that you show love isn't necessarily the way that you want to receive love. Like I know for myself, this is kind of why I smiled, or like you saw something happen to me when Shira said diamonds in terms of gifts. Because I feel like that's kind of a one-time gift. You can't really top that in terms of when you give, and I've never given anyone a diamond, so that's kind of a different story. But gifts are definitely my love language. And I don't mean receiving gifts, I mean giving them. And it's funny because you guys are like reverse engineering some things that were going on in your relationship. And I remember the first time that my ex-husband like really was like overwhelmed with how like taken care of he was when I bought him a spoon rest. That sounds like such a small thing, but he cooks every single night, right? And we started spending a lot of time together. So I was spending the night at his place, and I noticed that when he was cooking, he had like nowhere to put his spoon. And so I bought him a spoon rest so that he could put it on his stove when he was stirring things. And when I brought it to him, he was like, oh my God, like you must really love me because you're noticing this small thing that I need. And I mean, I bought my mom a spatula yesterday because I know that she needs it. And that's just my way of showing somebody that I love them. But that's not how I want to be loved. Words of affirmation go a long, long way. I'm proud of you. I'm impressed by that. Or what is your opinion on this? Goes a long way in terms of you showing me that you love and respect me and want to know my opinion. So it's like, it's not necessarily like the way that you receive it is the way that you give it, which is kind of an interesting twist in that way. But I think affection goes for like most people, or at least women. I don't know.
No, that is true. That is true. But that's very interesting that you just said, because I've never heard anybody say, I give love and receive love in two, like I'd rather give gifts and not get gifts. But I'm also imagining that you use words of affirmation towards others also, because you can't be buying gifts all day long for people, you know what I mean?
Actually, Shira, I don't feel like I'm very good at words of affirmation. I think saying I love you comes easily for me, but I don't necessarily feel like I verbally acknowledge people as much as maybe I could, because I already feel like if I'm with you, you should know that I respect and love and adore you. So you know, if I met somebody to whom that was very important, that would be something that maybe didn't come as naturally for me as, you know, putting my arm around you as you were cooking a meal, or bringing you something. Like, that's why the diamond seemed like so strange, because like I would probably bring a small gift every time I came over, like whether that's a dessert, whether that's a spoon rest, whether that's something practical that that person needed, because that's just who I am and showing affection. So yeah, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, but even when you're not coming over to somebody's place, like if you're dating or whatnot, but if you're living with that person,
Mm-hmm.
if gift receiving is important to them, it doesn't necessarily also mean materialistic. You know, you can write them notes, you can make something for them. And, you know, and it's also not one of my top, you know, 5 love languages, but for some people that speaks to them. It just makes them feel like, you know, and yes, and I'm taking away people that are just materialistic and want to get the diamonds and the cars or whatever, you know, but it could be a small, tiny gift. And to them, it says, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
Can I share something really dorky with you guys?
Please do.
Yes.
For some reason, I don't think you'll be so surprised when I tell you this. But so my husband, Mike, you guys all know him very well. He definitely, acts of service is his thing, because he loves when I get him dinner or prep him, cook or clean stuff or whatever I do that involves him. He like loves it. So that must be one of his. But how I know that for sure is I write him, and this started a long time ago, but like I will prep his like lunchbox in the morning. I know that's like so, I don't know, dinosaur age, but like I love doing it for him, and he loves that I do it for him. So it's like gives him an extra, you know, 15 minutes in the morning to get dressed. And I write him a little handwritten note every day, and it's always different. It's not just like the same old. It's like I'll say something unique or whatever. And I've been doing this now for at least 7 years. And there's been those random days where I oversleep and I'm like, I can't do it, do your thing, whatever, or I'm not with him or whatever. And he will be like so sad. Like he'll text me and be like, no, today. Like, what happened? You know? And, and you know what he does? He puts the date on them and saves every single one of them. And first of all, I think that is hilarious because he's a man and that's such a, like, I would do that. Like, I think a woman would do that before a man would do that. But I didn't know he ever did this. And then when we were living together, like maybe it was like our second apartment or something, I was packing our stuff and a shoebox from the top of a dresser fell and like thousands of notes fell out.
Oh my
Wow.
God. That is the cutest.
Like,
That's so nice. That is so not dorky. It's so amazing. And and I gotta say that Mike, does the same for you, because you and I went away for that Natural Expo once, right? And so we were in a hotel room together and stuff. And I just remember when you were unpacking your suitcase, there was a note here, there was a little note in your glove and in the suitcase and in your
There's a card. There's like 2 cards.
Yeah, you rock, or I love you, or whatever. I'm like, that is just so amazing. So, and that not only like is an act of service, or they're words of affirmation too.
Yeah,
and
they
it's a
are.
gift.
Yeah, that's true. It's a gift.
And it's a gift.
And you know what? Look, maybe mine's a little too much for some people. I know my sister is like, you do what? Because she's like, I could never do that. She's like, I couldn't even make my husband like lunch, really? She's like, I don't have time for that. But it's something that, like I do enjoy doing, but I realize how the acts of service thing is so important in our relationship for one another. And mine might be daily, and it doesn't have to be daily, but something as simple as just like, have a really nice day. I love you. Call me later. Like, it's really nice to just like see it later and be like, oh, they're thinking of me. Kind of like if I get it, like you guys will text me throughout the day and just, randomly throughout the week and be like, thinking of you. How's your week going? We need to catch up. And even just that text makes me feel so good. It's like, oh, someone's thinking of me. Someone loves me,
Yeah.
I have to share a little something because in Hebrew, ahava is the word love, and the root word is hav, which means to give. And I remember hearing a woman talking one time, and she was talking about lessons from the Bible and all this stuff, but that stuck with me because loving is about the giving. And so when you tell us the Mike story, like either he knows about the 5 love languages and is like, oh, this is Kim's language, I'm going to speak to her in that language, is so thoughtful, right? So it's all about the giving. Like, yes, you want it to be mutual. Yes, you want it to be reciprocal. And clearly if it's like completely off balance, something is wrong. But when you start to understand that not everybody thinks the way you do, and not everybody receives love the way you do, when you start to open yourself up to that, that's where the gem that this book comes to play. And thankfully, I feel like I'm in a relationship now that completely embodies that, and it's earth-shattering. It just what it's done for my life to have somebody speak my language and receive the language that I'm speaking in is just
and getting what you need, it's just so fulfilling. It's what produces happiness. You're getting what you need. You know how many relationships I've been in where I never got what I needed, and I was like, why can't he just give me what I need?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And it's again about, I think, identifying that need, because somebody could be so great and so sweet and so nice and so generous, but like, are they giving you what you need?
Right.
Bottom line.
And do we kind of feel like it, in a way, there is a responsibility when you are forming the foundation for a relationship to express what it is that you need and not try to have them guess? Because I feel like that's where my maturation in relationships have really come into play, instead of just being like, well, first of all, identifying my own needs, very important. didn't know how to do that when I was younger, and then expressing them when I am presented with the possibility of being in relation with somebody, such as, listen, I know that we are in a very busy age and texting is, you know, pretty available to all of us. So I don't need to have like in-depth conversations every single day, but I would really like, if nothing else, a good morning. And just being able to express that to somebody instead of expecting them to do it naturally, then it's like, you know, you're giving somebody the opportunity to give you what you want
Mhm.
instead of blaming them for not doing it. So it
Totally.
feels like a completely different way to, it's not necessarily what we consider traditionally romantic. Like that's not being swept off your feet. That's not what happened with Cinderella. She's like, I'm gonna need you to bring me my shoe. You know? Like that's not what happened in the fairy tales, but we can create our own fairy tales and our own magic by being a little bit more vocal and being a little bit more like communicative about what those needs are, so that they can actually be met or give people the opportunity to meet them.
That is so
Do
important.
you mean that men shouldn't, like, read our minds?
Be mind readers.
You
I was
read
just
a
gonna say
man's
that.
mind?
Have that dialogue.
No, that it's actually really important. It's all part of, the empowerment work we do for us to speak up, right? Well, girls, this is a fabulous place to wrap up. We hope that you loved our conversation as much as we did. If you like our videos, please subscribe to our channel and be sure to let us know if you have any topic requests or questions by commenting below. We'll see you soon. Thank you for watching and stay safe, everybody.
Bye.